Welcome to a very special episode of All About Design, and I'm really excited to welcome Joanne Layzell from Mazon Interiors, specialist in kitchen design, bathrooms, bedrooms, and very high-end projects. They've recently opened an amazing showroom in Leamington Spa, so if you are in the area, do go along and see it. When you're designing your kitchen, it is one of the key areas in your home that you can really get into a muddle with. You can spend many thousands of pounds on it, and it's easy to get it wrong. So I really wanted Joanne to come along to talk us through how she approaches it, the big things to avoid, what's happening in kitchen design, what's new. So when you make those big decisions, you won't get it wrong. Welcome, Joanne. And can you tell us how you got into doing the job you do today?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. So I learned on squared paper with my dad how to design. He's built his own home and he was a very clever farmer who was always designing things on squared paper. So he really got me to see spaces from above, which is the
Yeah,
way I always imagine everything.
like a plan. Yeah.
Exactly. And I didn't realise at the time that not everyone thought like that. And then years of travel took me to Brighton. Hove actually,
Mm.
and I was in a really fortunate position where I was able to go and study at the KLC School of Design in
Okay.
Chelsea, which was an amazing opportunity. I did an interior design course there. I came away and I loved the interior design side of it, but I really enjoyed the furniture building side.
Mm.
So the cabinetry, the more physical
Yeah.
build stuff. So that was kind of a realization that maybe interior design, taking it to the end, wasn't for me. I bought my first property, flipped it quite quickly, made some money, purchased another one. And what I realized was the kitchens, the bathrooms, the decor, it was really from those things that put the property value up,
Yeah.
because it is such an investment. If you do, go the extra little bit with those spaces, it just changes the property. And then fast forward moving to Birmingham 9 years ago, I thought it's now or never, and took a leap of faith. Started on the kitchen design side of things because I was having my kitchen done, and the designer said, "I've got a secret. I've just found out I'm pregnant." She said, "I haven't even told my family." I'm like, "You'd like to apply for my job because your kitchen design is better than mine."
Wow.
My partner was really like, "You would be brilliant at this,"
Mm.
because again, it's those squares, it's building. I then got into the bathroom side of things as well as kitchens,
Mm.
bars, dressing rooms, all of that side of things. And then we've been putting together this amazing showroom
Yeah.
for the last year. And it's quite high spec, which I don't want to put people off with, because we can work with budgets.
Yeah.
We're not there to just add the numbers on.
No.
I think it's crucial in this day and age that we are careful with people's money, because it's got to bring them value.
We'll all agree that if you speak to an estate agent putting a house on the market, the things that are going to sell it are the kitchen
Mhm.
primarily and the bathroom, then onto the bedrooms. And if they have dressing rooms, that's all a bonus. But if you walk into a kitchen, it's quite nice if it
Mm.
needs totally ripping out because you feel justified in doing this. So it's great when you've got a fresh piece of paper. Why do you think it's considered the most important room in the house? And why do you think it's worth investing in it?
I think if you go back to when we were small, the kitchen wasn't that important. It wasn't such a major thing. Whereas now, I think people are really into their food. They're really into their fitness. It's important as a family, when you've got children, to maybe have that one
Yeah.
time a day where you are together. So I think it's great that
Yeah.
it's really come around and become such an important space. And now with kitchen diners and open plan living, you're looking at it all the time. So it's got to look good.
Obviously has to be very functional and technical these days. There's more gadgetry coming in.
Yeah.
It's a side of things when my clients come to me and say, "Can you help me design my kitchen?" I'm like, absolutely. We can work on layouts and materials together, but I think we should go and see a kitchen specialist
Yeah.
because there's all these new things coming in. So when you start a project, how do you approach it? What's the very first thing you're trying to understand about the client?
I think probably the same as what you do. I need to know who's living in the house.
Yeah.
how they use the house. Some people might be spending most of their time in their kitchen. When are they here? How do they use the space? What do you want? What do you see in the future? How do you want to change it? If you
Mm.
haven't got an open plan, is that what you're looking for? Tables are really key. Seating areas are really key, because
Mm.
that's where you're going to try and bring your family together or socialise with your friends. They're key things that I like to learn to get under the skin of
Yeah.
who I'm dealing with,
You
really.
have to get to know your clients, don't you? And usually they end up being friends.
I
Um,
totally agree. I've got
yeah.
some really lovely clients who that I keep in touch with, and I did a big house in Four Oaks in sort of Sutton Coldfield, and I spent 2 years really
Yeah.
in and out of the house. We laughed that bedroom 8 was mine
Yeah. Bedroom mate.
because
What do you think about budgets? Sometimes budgets can hinder free thinking design, but is it important when you start in your kitchen to set some idea of budget?
absolutely. It's really hard. It's quite a personal question.
Mm.
You don't want them to think you're judging by asking the question. They often will think it's good to keep it a secret.
Mm.
Let's see what she comes up with. But in my world, if we're looking at a kitchen, it could vary from 30 to 150.
Yeah.
It really can, with appliances and different worktops and space and storage and gadgets and things.
Absolutely.
So it really is hard. I try and give them brackets. So say, are you looking for something in the region of 30 to 50, 50 to
Yeah.
70, 50
It's a
to
good way.
80? And it really helps me,
Yeah.
because it's all about, with a kitchen, it's all about the doors, the cabinets, the handles. My partner made the mistake of picking some beautiful handles for our kitchen, which were, I think they were £35 each, which
Mm.
isn't a huge amount. But then we had 35, and they're beautiful and we appreciate them every day.
Mm.
But we weren't expecting to spend that sort of money. There are £7 versions of
Of
that.
course.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
think budget is the difficulty
Yeah.
in every conversation. But all I can say is to people who might be looking for a kitchen, be honest with your designer, because
Yeah.
it really helps us. It saves us loads of time. We know which suppliers we're going to go to.
Yeah.
We know what type of worktop you really can afford, or we have to dig into deeper about what you want from that worktop. But it really just the budget. So yeah.
Definitely. Smart design works with any budget. Sometimes you have to work harder with a smaller budget to get that look. But it might be that the end result is I spend a little bit less on my integrated fridge, but I'm in love with those handles and I'm going to have them because every day I'm going to touch them. I'm going to appreciate them.
Yeah, exactly that.
Mm.
There are ways. Integrated products are a brilliant way to save money on a kitchen,
Yeah.
because you don't necessarily need that high end brand. You need a reliable brand, and there are some good mid range ones that
Oh,
I would absolutely go to.
that's a massive top tip. Do you think colours in kitchens are good to invest in? For example, sage green right now
Mm,
is the big colour. A few years ago, everyone wanted that deep dark blue.
yeah.
Are you a fan of that, or should it be a timeless neutral, do you think?
So you'll have to come to my house, because my house is just very simple, soft colours. I wanted a black in-frame kitchen,
Mm.
which would have been quite expensive and quite a statement, or 8 years ago when we did it. So my partner said, let's go with a really soft off-white grey. And still to this day, people walk in and say, have you got a new kitchen?
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So it's really timeless. But I always say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I think if you want that
Yeah.
bold colour, you've just got to think about this as an investment for the next 10 to 15 years. I see a lot of clients who say to me, our kitchen's been in 20 years, and that's the sort of kitchen I want to design for them,
Yeah.
that they don't look at it and hate it
Yeah.
in 5 years and think we spent X amount of money, we've
Mm.
got to replace it. So I think you've got to be wise. But if you're a person who loves colour, then go for it, because it won't date in your home. And sometimes you have to forget about what's going on outside and be bold with what represents you as a person.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, people need to, really think about it. But if it's what you want, then go for it.
Yeah, I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's a brilliant answer. I had a client recently who's sort of discussing with me having a pink kitchen,
Mhm.
and I'm like, very happy that she's considering putting the colour into her home. But I have to always say, brilliant, but
Absolutely.
think about the next 5 years. But
Yeah.
if you love it and every day it makes you smile,
Yeah.
then go for it. Obviously, we're talking about investing in something that's going to be in for a very long time. So, thinking of some classic and timeless materials to use in the kitchen, what would you say are, top of your list?
I think everything about a kitchen is about the worktop. I think that's where you can, again, top tip for saving money, your cabinetry, your doors don't have to always be a painted in frame. There are some great products out there now that look great, veneers, MFCs, MDFs. They're really robust. So as long as you're not smashing doors,
Yeah.
they should give you that longevity. But the worktop is where you are going to be banging pans, dropping things on. So for me, getting that right is really key to the
Yeah.
design. I always say it does the most hard work.
Yeah.
It is something you can change later if it's not affordable at the time. But if you can stretch yourself, then go for it
Yeah.
because it's an investment long term.
Things like marbles, obviously, they've got a little bit of porosity in, so they absorb. If you put a glass of red wine down,
Yeah.
they can be a little bit more hard work to look after. So,
Yeah.
what's a really hard-working stone worktop that looks beautiful? What would you go for if you?
So I love Decton. Decton is brilliant. All the porcelains coming out now are great because they're white clean pretty much. You don't. Every single worktop has its pros and cons. And I always say to people, do your research because I can tell you what I think because I know we would never put a hot pan on our
No.
quartz. Now because it's very low resin, the chances are it wouldn't burn. But if you've bought a cheap quartz, the chances are it's the resin that burns on quartz. So you would potentially get a ring, but I've had clients who have said to me, we're worried about the turmeric. So a lot of Asian families use a lot of turmeric. So Depton's very good for that, but quartz can be good for it as well. So you really have to dig quite deep into who's using it and how they will use it because every single product, I love all the natural stones, but unfortunately, because of the porousness, it's really tricky to keep them good. But then people have gone for dark colours and said, well, you wouldn't know. So there's always ways around it. And also think about the environment as well. I think that is really key going forward. Look at where they're made and footprint impact in the world, because I do think that's quite a key going forward in our industry. We're not brilliant at it.
How much has kitchen design changed over the last few years, and why is it evolving so much now?
AI and virtual reality is key because some people, and it's a fact, some people don't have the imagination to be able to see things. So you can talk about a red balloon, but they can't physically imagine it in their minds. So it's really good, and you probably find it sometimes you can get so excited about something and then you realise they don't know what I'm talking about.
I get that a lot.
So I think it's really good so that from an interior designs I present, and I only give them snapshots of what the kitchen will look like initially, and we'll dig into it at a later date. But it's evolving all the time. There are so many colours out there. A few years ago, there was no colour choices. Kitchen designers had 4 colours. And if you wanted to do a paint to order, it was like a ching, the cost going up. But now it's brilliant. Most suppliers will give you around 30 colours that are beautiful. I think, it's improving all the time. Sizes are now much more open. We do everything that's completely bespoke if need be. As long as the budget's there, you can do it.
And what about the extraction? Some of the things have changed so much.
We do recirculation. So in the showroom, the hob that we've got in there, Cooper's Bush is the brand that we've chosen for our showroom. We've partnered with them, and that is absolutely brilliant because it recirculates in the unit and then cleans all the air. So this is NASA technology, which is phenomenal. And then we have small gaps at the top of our plinths that wrap around the bottom of the kitchen, and the air just comes over the top of them. It's absolutely genius stuff. And it means that you don't have to, as long as you've got a supply to that space, you don't start having to dig out to your home. And they work just as effectively. It is better if you can get that ventilation ducted outside. But unless you're there at new build, then you will struggle. I love watching the videos when the smoke just gets drawn into the middle. And they're a brilliant asset in the kitchen for sure.
What things make a kitchen work well day to day, regardless of size or cost? And is it still the work triangle if you're designing it on your square paper?
Yeah, I think for me, it's about the areas of the kitchen. So I kind of, yes, it's a triangle, but at each of that point of the triangle is an area. So for me, I look at it that I need a dirty, clean area. So I want somewhere round the sink where I can clean plates off and I can put them in the dishwasher or run them under the
Yeah,
tap before they go into dishwasher. So key thing is your bins, your
yeah,
dishwasher and your sink are in the same area, because
yeah.
I get it all the time where people say, oh no, we want to put that on the island. And it's like, so if your partner or your child is cooking, you're going to have to keep walking around them to do the
Mm,
dishwasher. It's thinking about your walk when you come back from the dining table or the island or wherever you're eating. How does that process just very short, very clean? And
yeah,
it's also an area, I'm not a massive fan of sinks on islands,
no.
because when I'm sitting with a friend having a glass of wine, I don't want to look at your sink.
No, very true.
And
Yeah.
whereas if you pop it at the back, then it's just perfect, tucked out the way, dishwasher bins, all of that over there. And then your island, I still love a hob on an island. I think they look
Okay.
beautiful. I've looked into lots that are actually hidden. So the induction is actually under the stone. So you turn it on from the back of the island and you don't have anything on the top, and they've never really taken off. You see them in some top London designs, but because there's then nothing on the island, it looks a bit
Yeah.
sparse. And I think nowadays the inductions are so pretty
Mm,
and they look really nice. We've got we cook in a row on our induction because
yeah.
I'm small. It's
Mhm.
really practical because I don't have to lean over the back. So
Yeah.
it's little tips like that I think
Yeah.
are really key.
I'm working on a kitchen at the moment for a client who wants 3 by 1.2 meter island. And she wanted the sink on there
Mm,
because when she was doing the washing up, she didn't want to feel that she had a back to the room,
yeah.
which I can understand. And
Yeah.
also, she didn't want to miss out on, the
Mm,
televisions on the wall over there. But actually, we've decided that it's not the nicest thing to look
no.
at, and to move it to the run against the wall. She's going to have the island completely clean, I think, at the
Yeah.
moment. When my children are doing their homework, mine isn't as wide. And so things are getting in the way. I've got the cooker on the island. So it's thinking about that, how your lifestyle, yet again, think about how are we going to live in this house? And things move on, in 5 years' time, my children won't be working at the island.
Yeah.
After COVID, the kitchen island became the workspace, didn't it, for a
Yeah.
lot of people's?
She's gonna have a dishwasher as well.
Yes.
But she was not gonna wash up that much, is she?
Probably not,
No.
not so much.
I think it's just because everyone, again, you just think, "Oh, when I wash up, I like to look out the window, or I like to look at something pretty." But if you actually had a little device on you to see how long you spend at your sink, it's probably not that long.
To make that bigger design decision
Yeah,
to have it on the island to
yeah.
be looked at.
And I think now, cooking is a bit of a drama, isn't it? It's a bit of theatre.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'll just prep here. It
Yes.
just I love it when you see an island, it's all clear, chopping board, bits and pieces. I
Yeah.
love that theatre of cooking.
True. How important is lighting, and what are the great ways to include it in your design?
So important. And our showroom, I think the main thing that we've done there is go quite heavy on different levels of
Yeah.
lighting. So from the bulkhead where it's hidden within the ceiling
Yeah.
to then we've got lovely wall lights. I think it's really key. Sometimes you need to be a bit subtle with it. But it depends on your style, because nowadays a lot of the modern designs, you can do quite a lot with your LEDs.
Yeah.
And it depends on the supplier how it works. A lot of German kitchens, they will come all integrated in your kitchen.
Oh, wow.
So when you've got a handleless kitchen, it's already integrated to the top. But there are ways to retrofit it into the worktop, for instance, or under the plinth, or,
Yeah.
all of those bases. So it really depends again on the design and your supplier and budget,
Yeah.
because it's often can be less costly to go to a designer to a supplier where it's all integrated already. But then you might want to do different things when you open the doors of your pantry, the lights come on, and those things. It just depends on each individual. I never like to set myself, this is rigid, this is how we're going to do it, because each design I'll make that decision on
Yeah.
with the client, because I think
Yeah.
that's key.
That's the thing. Designs always evolve, don't they?
Yeah.
From where you start off, it will always change. But For me as a designer, I'd say think about your kitchen in the various times of the day. So, what do you want to see first thing when you come down in
Yeah,
the morning? You don't want to feel like a spaceship's landed in your kitchen. All lights are on. You need some subtle lighting, a bit of a
absolutely.
glow going on there. The kitchen, I had the builder put all these little spotlights around the bottom, which
Mm,
never ever got used. So, eliminate the things that today it looks amazing, but
yeah.
actually in 5 years' time,
Dated quite
very,
quickly, didn't they?
yeah.
And that's why I'm quite careful with LED because it's very on trend to use it everywhere now.
Mm,
But like everything, we'll probably look at it and something else would come out. We've got these beautiful downlights in the showroom that I really love. You can angle them for
yeah.
art and different things like that. And they're just very
Yeah,
simple.
they're beautiful.
I love those. And the track lighting we've actually got in the dressing rooms. You know, we used to have track lighting years
Mhm,
ago. That's evolved and now it looks beautiful
mhm.
against, you know, the cabinetry we've got in the dressing rooms. Again, just thinking about the long term natural light, I think that's key. To
Yes.
think we need to be there at the start of a project. That's key,
Yeah,
isn't it? And
definitely.
understanding where the house sits is
Mm.
so important because you might have a north facing garden that the kitchen overlooks. So you need to add in that light. I know for you guys, I've worked with interior designers at the end of projects before. And I just felt for you guys so
Yeah,
much because there's no supply here and
yeah,
I need some nice table lamps and things like that.
yeah, there's no
It's
plugs,
it's
yeah.
so important to get it organized at the start of the project, I think.
Key points, that's really interesting because the colour of the light coming into your space,
Yeah.
no one ever really thinks about it, when you're installing something like a kitchen,
Yeah.
to think, what are you looking at outside is important, but also,
Yeah.
do I need to have power in these various other places? Getting the interior designer in with the architect, if it's a new build, definitely is a massive one, and the interior designer doesn't need to stay on the project all the way through, just work with the architect,
Yeah.
kitchen consultant to start with.
It's just about the lovely details like a media wall and things like that
Yeah.
that you might be working on. That's going to need supply. It's all key, and I think I don't know, but I get the impression that you guys get brought in last minute, and really you should be there at plan stage.
It's a common misconception that it's the pretty bits the interior designer does, which, yes, is an element of that architectural interior designer, which
Yeah.
I am, and most designers will
Mm.
have a very strong idea of placement for
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And so when you get brought in at the end, that bit of wall, for example, if you were running up to a window,
Yeah.
if you could just move the window over slightly so you've got at least 700,
Yeah.
800, so then you can run your kitchen right to the end of the wall
Yeah.
instead of having to do a little
Yeah.
setback, things like that. It just gives you a
It
whole
does.
other
Yeah.
experience with how big a kitchen could
Because
be.
I love architects, but they are looking at the build side of it and how the house can be brought together. I don't want my clients looking at the back wall. I want them looking at the garden. Architects don't always take that into account. They draw a design on the plan,
Yeah,
which their client might think, oh, that's the way the kitchen's going to go. But then I walk in and say to them,
yeah,
oh, no, you need to flip it onto that wall. And
yeah.
they're like, what? Is that doable? Yeah, we just need to get everybody on
Services.
board at the
Yeah,
start. So it's
yeah,
things like that. I always think just get people on site to begin with.
yeah.
It's
Trust your
key.
designer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what mistakes do you see people make again and again when they plan it themselves without going to see a professional?
I can't remember the actual number, but there's something like 4,000 components in a kitchen, something ridiculous like that, you know, with hinges and everything. So I think the biggest mistake is people do think that they can do it themselves because it's not just about the design, it's about the ordering and the
Yeah.
storage and the planning around it. There's so much more involvement in it. And I think because it is such a huge investment, get some advice on it,
Yeah.
you know. And I think the biggest fear is that it's going to cost them a fortune to do it, but what it will actually do is save them money in the end and heartache. You know, we all watch grand designs and it's hard enough building an extension or doing a
Yeah.
refurb or, you know, investing the time. Most of our clients are time poor.
Can save you so much time and so much money in the long run. You don't have to spend every weekend going around all the different showrooms. You've got to eliminate that
Yeah.
yourself. Things like hinges are really
Hmm.
important,
Yeah.
handles,
Yeah.
taps,
Yeah.
worktops,
Yeah.
lighting.
Yeah.
If you were going to say a top 10 of things to concentrate on, what would
Yeah.
they be?
The Keeping your worktops clear is really key. You don't want too cluttered. So things like, if you can invest in a boiling tap, they're amazing. Get
Mm,
rid of that kettle.
yeah.
I think storage. Spend some
Yeah.
time on it. I often do kitchen mapping with my clients, where I literally will label each cabinet for them,
Brilliant.
plates and bowls, food. I will just give them that they can really go away and think, well, if I'm making a cup of coffee, for instance, I don't want to be zigzagging across my kitchen
Yeah.
for the milk, getting back to that triangle, but
Yeah.
it's about how you prep food. Am I going to use that island or peninsula for prepping food? Right. If so, I need the food to hand and the knives
Yeah.
and the bowls. So that, not that we're lazy and it's good to get your
Yeah.
steps in, but it will drive you mad if
Yeah.
you don't get that design right. So storage, key, worktops, as I've said, are
Yeah.
very important. The lighting, natural as well as additional lighting, is key. Cabinets, you can go for a fairly cost-effective cabinet, but put some nice drawers in it. Your cutlery drawer, make that dovetail, or upgrade the bits that
Mm,
you use on a daily basis,
that's good.
because the cabinets, if they're just got a shelf in them, they're not going to get too much usage. Another thing, drawers where possible. We've got a whole kitchen of drawers. Even our dishwasher looks like a drawer, 2 drawers to line up with everything else, which I was told not to do, but I did anyway, and it's fine.
And you love it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
but drawers are brilliant because, again, you're investing in a home that, as we get older, bending down and crawling in that corner cupboard or out the drawers, they're just brilliant
Yeah.
because, we have a lot of our food storage in pan drawers, and you've got rices, couscous, all these
And you can
things,
look down and
and you
see
look down
them.
and you use them. Whereas how many times have you gone to the back of your cupboard and
Yeah.
said, those tins have been in there like 5 years?
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes longer.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
but it's brilliant because you get to see it.
Yeah.
And so you're just constantly using food rather than just
Yeah.
having it in there for storage. Am I near to 10, do you think?
Well, you're doing really well.
Uh,
Yeah. I'm not going to count
I
them.
think wall colour. I think wall colour doors obviously are key. Think about cleaning, for instance. If you go for a very detailed in-frame or shaker, are you somebody that cares about constantly cleaning
Mm,
the little ridges? Darker colours often show more
mm,
dirt and dust.
mm.
Ours is brilliant. Just don't see it because
No.
it's a light colour. Darker colour worktops can often be
Show the
worse for,
crumbs. Yeah.
whereas you would think,
Yeah.
again, it would be more practical. So yeah, there are so many things to think about. Nowadays, boxing in your kitchen to the ceiling is great
Much
because then you
nicer.
don't go up on a ladder one day and go, oh my word.
The dust
Yeah.
trap up there
Yeah.
is horrible. Yeah.
And grease. Because we wanted to open up our kitchen, we don't have any tool units, so everything is under counter. And actually, my dad, when I first did it, said, "Have you had an extension?" Because it had got towers in there before, tool units, because it's a long, thin galley.
Mm.
It made it feel very small in space, so we took everything down to base level and put shelving in,
Oh, that's interesting.
and it doubled the size.
So you haven't got any wall units?
No,
Just
nothing.
oh.
But you have to think about the shelves by the hob
Yeah.
because the grease and
Mm.
the steam can make it an area. So we're thinking, again, you're always doing your own
Mm.
home, aren't you? About having some dressers maybe on one side, but keeping them quite narrow so they're great for food storage and things like that. But don't close in
Yeah.
that narrow kitchen.
That's
So
a really good point. That's
yeah,
really interesting. I've not seen many kitchens that haven't got any
on
wall
the
cabinet, but that's a
yeah.
lovely idea. Being realistic and honest with yourself about how you live, because these beautiful walk-in larders very much in vogue.
Mm.
And I did one for a client last year, and it looks beautiful in a Georgian home. But are you going to be curating the shelves? Are you going to make sure your spice rack is up to date and all
Yeah.
labels are pointing the right way? Or are you going to prefer to put that away
Put it,
in a
yeah.
deep drawer that you can get to? My youngest son loves baking, and everything is in a tool cupboard at the top. I can't see. And so if he says, "Can we bake this weekend?" I'll just go out and buy. I think I better get some flour. And then I find 10 of them in there.
I do a lot of the pantries for mums who are busy, and what they like to do is don't care what goes on in the pantry. What they do is chuck it all in there when they're off to
Yes.
school, shut the doors,
Yeah.
and walk away from it. So the whole kitchen is calm.
Breathe.
But just when you open the doors, it's like, oh,
Yeah, come
So
back.
they use it as like a real breakfast space.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is just being honest. Don't put pressure on yourself. Try and think what makes your life easier,
Yeah.
because there's enough to do. So I think don't overcomplicate spaces, because it's got to be practical.
I've seen more of these cupboards that you open up, and the toaster and the coffee machine, and if you've got a kettle is in there,
Yeah.
but that's the breakfast zone,
Yeah.
and then you can close that away.
Do it all the time. Appliance garages, they often call them. But I think like the breakfast bars where the cereals, bowls and things like that, again, you might be running around making sandwiches for the day for the kids, or rushing out trying to prep food. Give the children that area to have their breakfast things, everything's in there, and then just close the door. We're just working with a new German brand, and their hinges for the pocket doors. Hidden doors that slide away, beautiful detail like that, because you have to think that those doors are bigger, so they often stick out and people don't realise. It's things like that you've got to think about. There's a little bit of compromise on certain things. I love all the new stuff coming through, get quite excited about it, and take me to a factory.
Wow.
I've been quite a few times before with German kitchens. I love seeing all the robots testing doors.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Is your confidence though in specifying?
Yeah, and coming back to budget and investment, if people are spending the money, you really want to say to them, this is why. This door has been tested. This paintwork, this veneer has been tested.
Splashbacks. I'm hoping to do my kitchen this year, and I've got quite a busy mosaic, which is 12 years old now. That needs cleaning with a toothbrush sometimes. You can have glass, you can have the stone. You don't see that much tiling as a splashback.
No,
these
my
days.
lovely niece is just doing a new home, and she's picked out these beautiful soft pink square tiles to go with her shaker kitchen, and it's beautiful. She loves these tiles. She will look after that kitchen. I generally talk to clients about how much they use their space. You've got to be aware that grouts are okay, but they're not robust to stop the staining. So I think they're really key things to think about. With all these natural, beautiful worktops you see now, they're often just then seamlessly going up onto the walls, which is a great look. Book matching is quite exciting.
Yeah.
I'm working on one at the moment.
Can you explain that to people?
So book matching is where a grain or a worktop, you could have two pieces, but you can mirror them. So
Just like
if
cut
you've
down
got
the middle and
exactly
butterflied almost.
butterflied on a worktop looks phenomenal. The slab sizes of those pieces of worktops, there's only certain sizes you can go up to. Some jumbo slabs will be 3.4. But really, you're looking at 3.1 meters for a piece of stone by 0.35 meters width. So the book matching's great for that, because you can join it together, have that butterfly effect. They work really nicely. I think you've just got to think about those, because the cost will go up with those worktops. As soon as you start to go up the wall, you're then effectively having another worktop, really.
Yeah.
But I think I love it. We didn't do it with ours. We've just got the full height to the extractor in our kitchen, and then it drops down to a smaller upstand. I think it's really nice.
And then painted wall.
And just painted wall. Think if you can push it to have the upstand or the splashback all the way along, it's really easy to clean.
And in your kitchen, you've got shelves, so you do it up to the bottom of the lower shelf.
Exactly. I could talk about it all day.
Well, that's good. But that's why you love what you do, and it makes it so lovely. So, final word on kitchens: if you could only get three things right, what would they be?
Lighting, storage, worktops.
Perfect.
I think.
That's wonderful. There's so many things you've said. That's brilliant. That's gold. That's gold. I love it.
I really care about the end results.
Another key area that has seen a massive uplift is bathrooms now. They are not anymore just a place you visit quickly and get out of. If you look at Instagram, there's beautiful images of what's out there and available. And you do work at this level as well. Personally, I've been doing a lot more bathrooms lately, especially for the ensuite bedrooms.
Mhm,
They are number two seller after the kitchen is
mhm.
what's your ensuite like, or what's your family bathroom like. So the finish level's definitely gone up. So what are the main elements do you think that you should be considering when you're designing a bathroom?
Again, going back to who's using the space is really
Yeah.
important. So if it's the whole family, main bathroom or an ensuite, they used to say you've got to have a bath in your
Yeah.
home. We see it less and less. I like to have it. I'm still old school. And because it's all very spa
Exactly. This is it.
influence now, think, people loving that thought
Mm,
of candles, music,
yeah.
lighting. I think it's working out if you've got the space for a bath still. Think massively what's coming in for us is the Japanese WC. So these are phenomenal. I've been working with them for years, actually. A lot of cultures will have it as an absolute,
Yeah.
necessity
Must have.
in their WCs. These are the all singing, all dancing WCs that, wash, brush, blow dry. But, I lived in Italy and B-days were an
Mhm.
absolute must in everyone's home. So it does make sense and it's not a great
Yeah.
conversation, but it is worth thinking about
Yeah.
and we see it more and more. And we've got one in our showroom. It's also got a heated seat and you don't have to use all the bits on it.
Bells
The
and
remote
whistles.
control. Yeah, you can just use it as a standard toilet,
Yeah.
but it's very good for posture. It's very good for the heated seat element of it. We've been doing quite a lot of losing the trims on bathrooms. So now mitering, where you join the two tiles on a corner with a 45-degree cut so
Yeah.
they sit together beautifully. If I can do
Beautiful.
it on a job, it's
Stunning.
really nice.
And what role do you think COVID's played in this?
Huge. I think there's been such a shift. I do think everybody started to spend so much more time at home with their families and friends that the house has just had this whole new different
Yeah.
way of being seen and used and with social media and everything else people have really started to share their space and so now it's like I don't want people to see it like this
Yeah.
or so I think huge. I really
Yeah.
do. The unfortunate thing about COVID is the costs have
Mm.
gone up and they never came down. They said at the time it would
Mm.
products would
Yeah.
would peak and then level out. So it can be quite a shock to some people when we cost a fairly straightforward space like a bathroom or a kitchen and the
Yeah.
costs are still quite high because gone are the days of the £10,000 bathroom. Sadly,
Well,
it's
yeah.
with the work going into it and all the elements.
What sort of things do you think are a really good combination to put into a family bathroom to
Yeah,
guarantee success if
yeah.
you're a little bit nervous about approaching it?
I think the good old 600 high by 1200 long, so millimeters, so 1.2 meter long tile. It does what it says on the tin. It's big. So
Mm.
you've got very limited grout and you can do some lovely stuff. We've actually got them going vertically rather than horizontally. And that's a really
Yeah.
nice look in our showroom. We work with various different suppliers, but tiles are the key to any bathroom, really. I think,
Yeah.
we've gone heavy on the mitering in ours. We've got the sink made from tiles as well to match the flooring, which is phenomenal. If you've got the budget, it looks great. I get quite excited. Tiles are like worktops to me.
Yeah.
You can really play around with them and you can go for very spa-like. Or we did a lovely bathroom at the end of last year that was really punchy colours, small guest bathroom. We went with like an almost a pink with a very dark maroon. It was very bold, but when we
Yeah.
saw the rest of the house, it absolutely worked. The client was like, this is exactly us. This
Yeah.
is what we want. So I always think if for me, I'm just doing a kitchen or just a bathroom, it's got to tie in with the rest of the house.
Yeah. That's
It's
a
not
really
about
important.
me.
Yeah.
It's not about
Yeah.
what's on trend, whatever. It's about how that room can transition into their home and be part of it rather than having an ultra modern kitchen in a very traditional
Mm,
home. I
mm.
think that's key as
I
well.
think it's key. I think the flow of the house is really important. I always say for sort of a downstairs WC, you can afford to go a little bit mad if you want to,
Yeah.
just because quite often it's not tiled all the way downstairs. Why not go mad with the wallpaper, Fabergé eggs if you want
Mm.
to, or just have some fun, because
Yeah.
it's not going to cost a fortune if you then decide to sell the house to repaper or paint that. I'm about to do a project with a lovely friend of mine, and we're getting mother of pearl tiles just as a little bit of a nod to the beauty of that, and it's a sort of feminine space. To sort of disperse them with as marble. It's just that little bit of a twinkle. It's
Yeah.
a very small space, so we don't want busyness. We don't want too many grout lines, but just a niche in the shower.
Yeah.
We're going to put them there. So it's thinking about how can I just lift this a
Yeah.
little bit from the everyday and the ordinary, but
Yeah.
again, storage.
Yeah.
So these beautiful large vanity units, the drawers, so much nicer than having products all
Yeah.
over everywhere. Niches into the showers,
Yeah.
amazing. So you haven't got those horrible metal things on the wall
Yeah.
that go rusty.
Yeah.
Which I know you'd run a mile from, all that sort of stuff. But also thinking about, you can accessorize your bathroom once it's finished. If it is looking a bit neutral for your liking, add some plants, some
Yeah.
orchids. You can still have shelves
Yeah,
in those
and
areas.
things like hand towels, your
Mm,
bathroom towels. I am all for pop of colour, an accent colour in a bathroom or anywhere in the home. I like to use an accent colour in our house that flows through the house. I really like that link. I really like that synergy.
And one top tip I'd say is when you go into your shower, have the controls near
Yeah.
where you enter, not right under the shower head, because there's nothing worse. It's cold. It's always cold
Yeah,
when it comes on.
yeah, my dad did it in his master bathroom years ago, and it was so clever. You walk in the entrance to the shower, and they're all there because it makes no difference to fitting.
No.
You know, the walls are going to be back to brick or back to stud wall anyway, so it can be all planned. And lighting as well. I'm seeing a supplier who can do the mitre, so where the two tiles meet, putting LED on that corner.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's super subtle, but beautiful. And again, that spa feel, just having subtle lighting in the niche or the alcoves. We do a lot of the lighting where when you walk into a room, the light will come on
Sensor.
underneath
Yeah.
the WC, which is perfect when you've got guests, or even the hallway down to the bathroom. We have a lot of guests in our home. How can you light that way? Middle of the night, light the space, make it really simple. So it's just little things like that, I think.
That's a lovely touch, especially when you walk into the bath in the middle of the night and
Yeah.
you don't want the lights on
No,
bright.
I think they're just little things that, you try and have a checklist with clients. 9 times out of 10, it might not be of interest, but some people it's like, we had not thought of that. And it's those extra touches that make our life more fun and a client's life a lot easier in the long run, I think.
And they're not always massively expensive, are they? But I
No.
think if you're approaching a bathroom, once again, hopefully it has a window in. If not, that's not the end of the world. We can work around that. But think about, where the power needs to be.
Yeah.
Having a beautiful LED mirror is such an instant gratification. You walk into a bathroom, it's floating on the wall, it's lit, it's above a vanity unit. That looks great. But, be practical. Make sure you've got extraction. And if you've got a noisy old extractor fan, very easy to get it changed, obviously with an electrician. But these are the things that will add value again to your home when somebody perhaps comes to look around it and they walk in and it's beautifully done. And it's the finish as well, like you're saying.
Yeah.
It's important.
And all about where your spotlights are placed in a bathroom.
Yeah, not over your head.
Not over your head. I always sit in my hairdressers and say, I know there's a spotlight right above my head. And I'm having my hair cut and I just think, oh God, I
Can't wait to leave.
So think about it in your own bathroom. Don't put a spotlight right above your mirror because you just walk in every morning and it's just not the way to start a day.
No.
Think about how you light the LEDs are lovely, the mirrors, because they give you that soft lighting that you want in the morning. And if, ideally you're not doing your makeup there, it just brightens up your day if you don't look too bad.
Definitely does. Completely. Definitely. So talking as an interior designer, obviously it's a question I want to ask you, but do you think a client having an interior designer is a good conduit between yourself and the end result?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will call us interior designers, but I really don't class myself as one. A lot of the stuff that you'll do as well. So we'll have massive overlaps, but with a client where they are looking at a house scheme and they are looking for that flow in every room and it all tying together, that's where really it's perfect for me to work with an interior designer to bring that to life. So I can concentrate on getting the right lighting in the kitchen, or getting the right supplier, or planning that template for the worktop and all of
Yeah.
those things. But the interior designer is overlooking how the house ties together.
Yeah.
And I think that is key. I've tried to do it on a really big job I did a couple of years ago. We brought in an interior designer in the end because I had a lot of rooms in that house, and I was falling short for the client because they just initially wanted help with furniture and things like that, which I did and helped. But it's the scheme. It's a lot more to it than just
Yeah.
sofas. It's the layering, the rugs, the cushions,
Yeah.
the lighting, the artwork, the pendants.
Yeah.
It's so much to it. And I think, you guys never get enough praise for what you do, because some people do see it as, they do the cushions and the curtains.
Yeah.
Well, there is so much that
So
you can get involved with. And I think it's absolutely key on a job where you're doing a whole scheme to have an interior designer involved in it, for sure.
yeah, your areas of, the things you do are so specialist anyway, to then be given like, oh,
Yeah.
you're doing kitchen and bathroom, can you just do the rest of the house? It's
Yeah.
quite a big,
It
big
is.
shout.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to get it right and to tie it all together nicely, it's just great for me if I can work with an interior designer on a job. And some clients have got their own great ideas, which is
Oh,
brilliant.
absolutely. Yeah.
Some don't. So then you think, oh, wow, they needed an interior designer to follow that scheme through. I think a lot of people think it's really easy, and it's really not. I think
Yeah.
it's a hard
I
job
think
to do.
interior design in many areas seen as a bit of a luxury, isn't
Mm,
it? And people, and it's entirely their choice. But often I go in and people say, I would never have got to this point without you. Actually, I've been trying to do this for 2 years and I just don't have the time or the energy anymore
yeah,
to do it. To live with
absolutely.
something much longer than they actually would have done,
Yeah,
because they were trying to do it themselves, and then they've got it wrong.
yeah.
Sofa that's too big, or they've not got an interior design in with the architect.
It's
Their
all
furniture won't
retro.
fit because
Yeah.
there's no space.
It's those things. It's like we were talking about the large format tiles. They're
Mm,
fantastic. You can get 3.2 meter tall now, but you must make sure that you don't put your doorway in,
yes.
because you've got to get them in for this poor Tyler and his friend, because you need to.
Yes.
You've got to get them off the lorry. It's all of those things
Yeah.
that I like to concentrate on, so that
Mhm.
you guys can then bring it all together.
Thank you so much for coming along today and talking to us. I think we need to get you back again to talk about some of the other areas you work on, like the dressing rooms and the
Absolutely.
bedrooms. And I know you're doing an outdoor kitchen in your showroom in
Hmm.
Leamington Spa. So if you are in Leamington, do go and see Mazon Interiors. You are open on Saturdays. Pop in.
Yeah, we are by appointment only, but that's something we've already changed to opening on Saturdays, because we had window guilt when people didn't understand why the door was closed. And it's purely because if we've got clients in there, it's an experience for them. They come in, they have 2 or 3 hours with me. We go through all the spaces. And if there are other people in the showroom at the same time, it just feels uncomfortable for
Sure.
them. We do appointment only at the moment, Tuesday to Friday. Open the doors on a Saturday, so there's a couple of us generally knocking around, happy to talk through the different spaces, make sure that people aren't scared to come in.
Yes,
Because I
absolutely.
think I've looked at showrooms before, and still do, as a
Yeah.
designer, and I'm scared to go in because you don't want to waste their time. You also don't think you can afford it,
Mm,
and sometimes they're not always the most friendly people. And I
it's
think
true.
that's what we're really trying to put over at Maison, that
Yeah.
we're a really nice team. We work together really nicely, and we are open to conversations. We can tailor what we do. It doesn't have to be a whole house. We're happy to work with you if you just want your bathrooms from us.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're trying to put across.
Absolutely
So
brilliant.
it's about being open, I think.
I'll put all of your details on the credits for the podcast and our social, Instagram, so on and so forth. But thank you so much for your help with everything today. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.